Hello! Hello, 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 hello. Can you see and or hear me? Preferably both. Right, now we all know this. Nothing carries on until someone says whether they can see or hear me. See and hear me. Yes, excellent. Oh, phone must go on silent. Phone go silent phone. Silent. Silent. Hello, 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 hello. It's been a while. It's been a while. To answer the question in the chat, no, unfortunately, we don't have Crimson with us tonight. She is at home up to her elbows in puppy sick. Puppy got a puke. So she is dealing with that. So yeah, it has been a little while. It has been a little while. My brain is still kind of squishy, so the rambling will be, well, I would say as disjointed as ever, or more disjointed than normal. Yeah, Diet Coke check. You see, look what I'm reduced to. It's a glass from a bottle. But there is actual Diet Coke. There appears to be a shortage of decaffeinated cans of cola. I can't get anything anymore, even off Amazon and now. And I would sit here and drink out of the bottle, but I think I'd look a little bit antisocial. I'd have to unscrew the cap each time, which might make me sound a bit. I don't know how it might make me sound, but it would make me sound it. And I'm now playing cat wrangle with the microphone, trying to get the microphone a bit clearer so I can be heard a bit nearer so I can be heard a bit clearer. Hey. Boop. So, usual format. I say usual format. See, I've been watching other people do these. They're so much more eloquent and loquacious, and they don't nearly half as much as I do, and they manage to make eye contact as well. I don't. I end up talking to my feet the entire time. I don't know how they do it. I need to take lessons. So, the usual format is that I tell you a bit about the last couple of weeks, mostly focusing on hobby, but occasionally straying into non-hobby. And then we talk about the topic of the evening. Then we talk about random stuff from the chat and so on. Oh, wow. Okay, so jumping straight in. Thanks, Luke, for the super chat. Super chatting is the best way to get me to zoom in on something and read it out and so on. As he's becoming a channel member. See, I'm not as good at this as other people. They managed to drum up. Mystery. So, what has Luke said? Paul, off topic and format, but if you were an orc war boss, what would your name be? What clan would you be from? And what would your warlord trait be? Ooh. If I was a orc war boss, if I was to sort of transmute into an orc war boss, which clan do I most identify with? I would probably be a blood axe. I like to think ahead far too much to be as impulsive as all the rest of the orcs. What would my name be? I'm tempted to say something like Gut Ripper or something like that, but I need something that's sort of encapsulated. You didn't expect me to be this smart, did you? Big thinker? No. Instantly dismissing that one. Uh, what's that? No, that's not very good either. What would my warlord trait be? Probably cunning, but brutal. Big beard, surprise death. No, orcs don't have beards. Big jaw, sudden death. No, that sounds like I've got some kind of condition. Big boss Paul de Smeghead. Why, thank you, Immortan Joe. I Iron Gob sneak attack. No, that doesn't work either. You ain't seen me, right? Hey, Eldorblog. Thank you very much. Cheers. As ever, you're a star. Suggestions on what my orc war boss blood axe name would be, somehow involving beards or stuff in the thing. Hey, Kevin, welcome back. Good to see you. Right, I've gone off format because of being asked questions early. The big sneaker. Oh, sneaky beard. No, the big sneaker. Big sneaker surprise stab. The big sneaker with the sharp stick. The big sneaker. It's got some legs. It would need to if it's sneaking. Okay. Oh, what's this? Luke Vickery, welcome to Level 1 Discord. Woohoo! Hi, Luke. Right, yes. What have I been doing? It's been a few weeks, and it's been a bit upsy. Big sneaker gear smasher. Thanks, Jack. I like that. That's getting closer. That's getting closer. Big sneaker head smasher. Big sneaker head smasher. Yes, there we go. Big sneaker head smasher. Yeah, head. Bit of a mouthful. Big sneaker head smasher. Yeah, yes. So, what have I been doing for the last few weeks? Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster because work stuff has been bad, okay, but non-work stuff has been good. My work contract finishes a week on Friday, and I am taking at least a couple of months off afterwards because it was like a 6-month contract that lasted nearly 4 years. So I'm taking some time off to try and see if I can stitch my brain back together. So that pressure will be off in a couple of weeks, which is good. Then a couple of months further down the line, I'll have the pressure of must get new contract. Right, yeah. Sorry, my brain is being sucked straight into super chat. Chapter Master Lexicus, hello, sir. Is shamelessly plugging Paulfest. Okay, so Paulfest is getting closer. Now, I am merely a third party advertising this at this point because it is being arranged by the channel members, the Discord channel members, and mainly by the legendary Chapter Master Lexicus. It is a one-day event at Tabletop Events in Belper, and it is open to any channel, any Say Hi Paul channel members. And it's a day of getting together with some fun lists and throwing dice together because we chat on Discord, we chat on here. Let's get together in real life and try not to be too scared and throw dice with each other and have a good old knees up. I don't know if knees up's still an appropriate phrase. Does one get one's knees up when playing 40k? No, I'm a third party. I may be a guest of honor, but I'm a third party. Yes, thank you. It's only a tenner. It's a tenner for the day. I think the idea is you play as many games as you want, but it's meant to be sort of nice, chilled, laid back atmosphere. So what's being planned is a game in the morning, a game in the evening, a game in the evening, a game in the morning, a game in the evening, and outside of that, people just sort of can organize and suit themselves. The tickets are a tenner, and as the Mighty Moog is pointing out, the only prerequisite is to be a Say Hi Paul channel member. So if you're not a Say Hi Paul channel member and you want to be able to go to Paul Fest, just sign up for a month and get your ticket. Of course, once you've signed up, you won't ever want to leave. You'll be one of us. No, people do leave. But seriously, so that's the plug. Anything I've missed, Lexicus or Moog? Nope. Okie dokie. Right. So back to so work was a bit sucky, but that's on the end of the horizon now. And the reason the work's a bit sucky is because I'm not doing like the job I'm meant to do. It's a little bit like if you've got. I'm trying to think of a way of maybe explaining it. It's like if you've got a plumber working on a building site, and it's like a 4-year project, and you get a few years into it. And then you say to the plumber, right, we don't need any plumbing now, but we want you to stay and do some roofing. The plumber goes, okay, I mean, I can. Well, you're familiar with the build. You're familiar with the project. We want you to do the roofing. Okay, you might not have a great roof at the end of it. No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So I have been metaphorical roofing for the last year, which has been very stressful because I'm outside of my comfort zone. Because my comfort zone is the metaphorical plumbing, not the metaphorical roofing. Metaphors. So, So the biggest thing that I've had in the last couple of weeks is the deployment zone regulars weekend at Paul's event, which we did once before COVID, and then COVID put a stop to it. But for those of you familiar with deployment zone, the channel has regular guests, of which I am one. And because I have a large house with a number of with a lot of space for games tables, everyone came around for the weekend, and some people stayed at the travel lodge, some people slept on the floor. One thing we learned is Dark Angels Chris is the loudest snorer on the planet. Yes, maybe shouldn't have said that. Don't know. Nah, too late. We could hear him from like 4 rooms away with all the doors closed. Mikey P went and slept in his car on Friday night, curled up in the boot, just clutching his ears. But it was great fun. Loads of games were played. I didn't play any myself. I didn't intend to. I was doing lots of cooking, lots of catering, and lots of chilling out and sitting and just chatting with people who I get to see very rarely, which was awesome fun. I reckon about 20 odd games were played across the weekend. I had intended to do loads of vlogging. I didn't even get the opportunity to pick up the camera, so there is no record of this insanity, unfortunately. But it was a really cool weekend. So hobby wise, that was awesome. It was awesome. Oh, we have another super chat from Commander Autism. Hey, dude, just wanted to say thanks for the vids and stuff. I'm rather sick tonight, so distractions are key. Well, I hope you're feeling better soon, man. and I will attempt to distract you as much as possible. And a big thank you for the support. Big thank you. Train of thought just crashed. So yeah, what else was there to say about that? Oh yes, one thing that was quite interesting was on the Saturday night, there were in my kitchen with a giant aeronautica table. People going, "I want to learn how to fly tiny planes." So there was like 3 or 4 people aside with a plane or two each, desperately trying to work out how the game works, just flying around in circles and not hitting each other. And some very casual, "Now you will die, Mr. Bond," then crashing kind of moments, crashing their own plane, not Mr. Bond's plane. That was very entertaining. But much of this you probably had to be there for. So my amusing recollections are probably not quite so amusing at your side. So what else? Oh yeah, in the run up to that weekend, GW sent me a couple of third ed AOS battle terms to review, which I did. That was a surreal experience reviewing battle terms for a game I'm really not very familiar with yet, and also not knowing of everything that was in the book. What's new, what's not, and yeah, that was odd but fun. What else? Oh, some of you may have seen a vid I put on last night, I think. The Snatcher boss on Sludge Raker Beast, which is one of the new AOS models, which is up for pre-order at the moment and due out on Saturday, I think. G-Dubs sent that through free of charge. I have to say free of charge now, because some change to the marketing laws means that when you give people stuff for free, you have to actually say it was for free. That's why you may have noticed across the internets, everyone saying, not just GW sent me this, it's we have to say free on charge. So it's super clear. So yeah, I don't have a Cruel Boys army. I have, of course, ordered one now. Now I've got that, but I enjoyed doing that model. It was a little bit different, and trying, because the model wasn't out yet, there wasn't a painting guide available, so I had to try and work out from first principles how to paint it in the style they'd done it, which was quite fun. So I enjoyed doing that. There may be other things I get to do, but I think I will do that again. I liked the idea of getting a model and then painting it straight away, because it completely distracted me from the project I was working on, which is my Necrons. But that's all right. That's all right. It's a bit random. Yeah. So, where's the mouse gone? I want to scroll up the thing. No, scroll up the thing in a minute. Sorry, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm missing some of the questions. It's question central, and there's not enough bus fare to make the journey through through all of the comments and my insane leaking brain. Trying to think if I've done anything else hobby related. I'm getting ready for oh yeah, I can't see that. Elliot Thompson just pointing out the GW put up a painting guide for the face and the teeth this afternoon. I saw it come up and I'm like, you are freaking kidding me. Damn it. Right. So I think it's turned out okay. I quite enjoyed it. Because of course they're not going to put the painting guides up before they've sold the model, are they? They're going to want people to order them and then get excited for painting it. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm getting really excited for this weekend because I've got to do some jiggery pokery in the garage and work out what mats I'm going to use and what terrain and this and that and the other. But I've got Mikey P from Deployment Zone coming up for the weekend, assuming that we don't have any nothing goes wrong with like gas explosions or anything. Gas explosions. There's not enough gas to do that, is there? I always feel a little bit nervous saying what's about to happen because then in case it doesn't for some bizarre quirk of fate. But all being well, Mikey P's coming up this weekend. We're going to film a 4-part campaign with his Eldar, who the Noldor, I think they're called, who are basically a dead craft world. They're mostly all ghost warriors against some Imperial forces on the dark side in Imperium Nihilus. So it's going to be against my sisters of Battle of the Order of the Sacred Rose and my Blood Angels. Now, I know some of you will be thinking, well, he hasn't finished the campaign with the Word Bearers and the Sisters of the Order of the White Rose, the Sacred Rose. That's because I've been having trouble with Solo Hammer with my brain being the way it is at the moment. So what will happen is when I've finished work for a bit and my brain's cooled down, I'll be able to crank up the Solo Hammer again, and then I'll come back to finish off the things that I've got mid-flight. But so looking forward to that. So the plan is to put the first one up on YouTube on Sunday, and then the second, third, and fourth ones up in the members' lounge. If you're watching on Sunday and you're a member, you'll get parts 1 and 2, and then the other ones will come later on. So we get really looking forward to that. That's going to be great fun. Rambles. I think what I might do is, because I know there's a lot of stuff in the chat, I'll ramble about the topic, and then I think rather than jumping to the Discord, I think I'll jump to I'll jump into the scroll. I'll find the mouse and I'll scroll. Lemmy's probably run off with the mouse. No, she's getting too old to run off with mice. I say that, though it was a few months ago now. I don't know if I even mentioned this to you guys. I was stood making my lunch in the kitchen, and there was an unholy sound from outside. And Lemmy comes in with this massive bird in her mouth that's still giving it all this. And I end up taking trying to get it off her, and then get the bird out and see how injured it was and put it somewhere safe and see if it flies off or not, or give it what it flew off in the end. So it wasn't that badly injured. But yeah. Yeah. Right, the topic. So the reason I thought I would ramble about narrative gaming tonight is I had a conversation with a whole bunch of guys at the Deployment Zone weekend at Paul's, and it occurred to me off the back of the conversation that we don't all necessarily understand the same thing when we say narrative gaming. We have different interpretations. The example, it's actually a work example. It's boring, but if I can just ask you all momentarily to think about a pizza. Yep, you're doing that? You're thinking about a pizza? Right, if I now asked each of you to describe that pizza, some of you would say, oh shoot, I don't want to make people hungry. Oh, too late. I'm going to have to lean into it now. Some of you will say, oh yes, I can see sort of pepperoni and lots of cheese. I can see a thin base. I can see a deep pan. I can see lots of veggies. I can see ham, pineapple. Everyone will have a different mental image. But we all thought we knew what we meant by pizza. We all individually know what we mean by it, but we each have a slightly different perspective. And this occurred to me with the same was true of narrative gaming, because some of the folks were saying we were talking about armies that haven't had new 9th Ed codices yet, and we're talking about guard and Tyranids, and some of the guys were saying the Tyranids are just unplayable. They were saying they're completely unplayable. You have to take X, Y, or Z, and you have to take scores and scores and scores of Gene Stealers, and they all get murdered. And it's only if you manage to get one of the units in there, you're doing real damage. And I can't remember everything they said. There was lots more than this, but you have to take all the big stuff. Hormigants are literally useless, etc., etc. And one of the things that came out of that was a lot of the guys. I say a lot of the guys. I can't remember exactly who, but there were about 6 of us chatting about it, and there were 2 or 3 people who were saying stuff. And this is where I don't know how to get the words out of my head. And they said, if you line up, even if you're playing narratively and your opponent takes a narrative list, if you line up 1,500 points of NIDs against 1,500 points of something else, the NIDs are going to lose. And I said it all depends on the scenario. And they said, yeah, but any of the missions will result in that kind of in that kind. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said pizza, because people are putting pizza recipes in the thing now, and I have to say, thin pepperoni, spicy chicken, pineapple, mozzarella, garlic oil, or pepperoni, spicy chicken, olives, mushroom, onions, and anchovies with chili oil. Oh dear. I'm looking at my phone now. That can access the interwebs. I can make. Oh, I freaking love anchovies. That can make people bring me pizza, and it's like magic. Anyway, I had pizza for my tea, so I probably shouldn't eat another pizza. I'll probably have a bowl of cereal after we've done this. I've digressed again. It's happened. It's happened. Who'd have thunk it? And I used to said a lot of it depends on the way you set up the scenario. And it's not just about saying, okay, we'll play open war because open war's narrative, or we'll play this because that's narrative. It's the notion of, if you turn up to a game, what's effectively a pickup game, with a balanced list of either army for sort of all comers, or even tailored. That's where those armies, because they're weaker in terms of the codices, are going to struggle. But and this is kind of what I mean by narrative gaming, if you're thinking, okay, what is this scenario? Not what's the mission, but what's the scenario? And the example I gave was going back to. So there's 2 bits, right? There's 3 bits. 4 bits, no, 3 bits that I can think of at the moment. There may be more in a minute. There's the actual scenario you're going to play, which determines victory or defeat. There's the lists you bring to it, and there's the terrain you set out. And the lists you bring, the terrain you set out, if you set that out from a narrative perspective, that can have a big difference on the game. And also the lists you bring. Now, I don't mean in terms of not spamming Riptides. I don't even know if they're still a spammable thing. I don't know what the I don't know what the big kahunas in the the dice rolling competition thing is at the minute. I don't know what's competitive. Thank you, Brain. You got there in the end. I don't know what's competitive at the moment, but I don't mean in terms of bringing a list that isn't competitive. I mean in terms of what would actually be there. So, for instance, I said if you're doing a Tyrannid and Imperial Guard fight, you might be at a stage in the invasion before a lot of the big beasts have been spawned. You might be early on in the planetary invasion, so you might have lots of small beasts and lots of medium-sized things. The Imperial Guard, you might not necessarily have 3 Lehman Russ tanks and a whole bunch of basilisks, because narrative-wise, a lot of these get deployed in batteries, and the tanks come in companies. Now, in one kind of narrative scenario, if you're defending a hive city, the tanks may well be split up to the main entrances to have a little bit of firepower on each one. But if you're talking, big warfront, there isn't necessarily going to be always tank fire. What you may have is this particular area is defended by a platoon, a company, which may number 1 or 2 platoons. So if you're then saying, actually, okay, the line where this line where it's weakest or where it's not got massed elite forces is where the NIDs are launching. It's where they're probing. And you say, well, okay, so we're early on in the invasion, so we don't want anything really big. We want lots of small things. Then the guard player sort of goes, okay, well, what can you have in a platoon or a company level? Well, okay, so I can't have Militarum Tempestus. I can't have Lehman Russ. I can't have Basilisks. I can't have these. I can't have those. What I've got is infantry squads, heavy weapon squads, maybe some special weapon squads, maybe some transports, and not an awful lot else. And then it becomes more scenario based, and it's getting away, for me, this is what it means for me, is getting away from the notion that both sides have to have a 50-50, an evens chance of winning at the start of the game. That's not to say that the battle needs to already be decided before the game starts. It doesn't, of course it doesn't. But there's nothing sorry, one moment. But part of the fun of narrative gaming for me is playing through those scenarios. It's like, oh, right, okay, the guard are really on the back foot here. What are they going to do? And that's where you tend to get, I find, more of those hero moments where you get like one guardsman clubbing the brood lord to death, taking the last wound off something, or seeing how many turns you can actually last before you're overrun, and that could have an effect elsewhere in the battlefield. That could determine what you play next, what you say, what's happened here is the line's been overrun, so now actually, because it lasted so long, reinforcements came up, or it might be it's been overrun, actually now we're sort of being chased down. That might determine what you do next. And the other element of it is what the terrain is going to be like. The guardsmen, in all of the books, the guardsmen say you don't want to fight street to street because it's dead. It's deadly. It's deadly. So they talk about not having that sort of street to street level of fighting. And when they do, they're often mounted in chimeras and they've got other things attached to their units. Like they might, from one of the tank companies, get some hellhounds to accompany them when they're sweeping through streets. Very often, one side or another will try and pick the fight of the battle, the battle line, and guard will set up to have fields of fire, and they'll demolish buildings and do all sorts to clear those lines of fire. So setting up the terrain with an even balanced mix of line of sight blocking, difficult terrain, dense cover, that isn't That's great for match play, and it's great if you want to have an evens chance of winning the game. But if you're creating that scenario, that narrative scenario to play out, I choose to think about how, if one side has had the opportunity to pick, to influence where the fight is actually going to be, and then what kind of terrain they would choose and what they would do to clear or change things. So in one of the games I fought, in one of the early games in Soul for Nexus 2, the Sisters of Battle had to last for as many turns as they could against the Word Bearers. And that board was gun line at one end with all sorts of dugouts and barricades, and then craters and obstacles, but clear lines of sight along the way to slow the enemy down, because it was a pre-prepared defended position that the enemy were trying to overrun. And that has a massive influence on the game. If you take a guardsman and simply, walk him into Chaos Marines, Tyranids, Orcs, almost any other living organism, they're going to die. In the books, in all the stories, they choose their battlegrounds and they use the advantages they have. And for me, it's about working out with my opponent, which is often me because I often do Solar Hammer. What is actually happening, and therefore how that influences the choice of lists, how that influences the setup of the table. And then you've got your narrative that you're telling. You've got your sort of guardsmen being swarmed by huge quantities of orcs and tyranids, and can they hold the line? Or how long can they hold the line? Can the are the orcs resilient enough to just keep coming? Every time, a guardsman hits an orc and it fails to wound, it's like, yeah, I shot him square in the head. That will be enough to put down a person or any other thing, but orcs just keep coming. They get back up. He grunted and got back to his feet. It's like, that's what I sort of see in my mind when they're open fire, first rank fire. And you can see some of them go, how is it still moving? I think I'm digressing again. Is that the entirety of my take on narrative gaming? I also try and find reasons for things. If one side over another has air superiority, what that means to the game. The reasons behind certain forces that may or may not be there. So in one of the games I've got coming up, one of the armies is effectively being caught flat-footed. They are going to be taken by surprise by an enemy, and they're effectively a guard detail on a medium security position. So as a result, I'm not going to have a huge amount of elite troops there. I am probably going to have mostly troops and someone to lead them, and maybe some elements of elite, maybe a little heavy support. Not a lot. It's just mainly going to be troops. Oh, we have a super chat by Paul Gray. Thank you, Paul. Doing the same thing for my Hive militia, Sentinels, Field Artillery, Hellhounds, and Transports are the only dedicated vehicles for them. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. Yeah, Sentinels. I'd love to make a Sentinel squadron, but there isn't. Maybe there will be in the new codex. Who knows? But I'd love to have a Sentinel HQ, and then three units of 3 to make the squad of 10. I'd love to be able to do that. Who knows if I will or not? Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. No? What's going on? Yes, that's Stephen Winston saying, in a competitive game, the reason you include something is because the rules you're using advantage it. In a narrative game, the reason you include something should be almost anything but the rules. I completely agree. That's very well put. Very well put. Yeah, I suspected the subject was going to be quite brief tonight. That's why I had Discord ready on my right. I've got another monitor here. Discord ready. And one thing I do need to do, my camera wobbles an awful lot, and that's because on it's on the back of my laptop, and the screen kind of wobbles a little bit because the laptop's on a stilty base thing to raise it up, and my belly is pressing against the desk. So every time I move, it sort of reverberates up to the camera. So one of the things I want to do is get a tripod to put that on, so it wobbles less. That's not in any way germane to the conversation, but I just thought I'd. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up to the top of the chat and start to read down and pick out things to ramble about. Jack said at the very start, in fact, at 6:30, very keen. What hobby projects are everyone working on? Well, I am working on Necrons at the moment. I've been painting a bit earlier today some of my flayed ones, made a start on those. I'm also tempted to do some snakebite orcs, but at the moment I'm thinking stay on target, finish Necrons, because you can't use the Necrons until you finish. You can't use the snakebites until you finish the snakebites. So why have them both half done, Paul? Why? Why have them both half done? So I'm trying to stay on target. Whether I succeed at staying on target, no clue. Da 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 da. Deadline was saying I played a narrative series way back in the day. Mine was a fantasy battle dwarf army against ultramarines using rules conversion. Lots of fun. Got stomped. Following fire were. Oh, right. Yeah. Fired. Yeah. But the bullets going through one person into another, like cannonball and spear chuckers and things. Yeah. Nasty. Honestly, narrative games in general are far more appealing to me than any competitive ones, and fun ones like yours beat competitive by a mile. Oh, thanks, man. How do you feel about letting other universes influence armies' paint schemes? Personally, I like my army paint schemes to be as close to canon as possible. Then I can, if I have homebrewed something, it never quite clicks for me in the same way, and they do for other people. And I wish I could get into homebrew more. Building my own chapters and my own regiments and so on. I just can't get on with it. I find it very difficult. And the same goes to the paint schemes. Right. Oh, yeah. Turn that back on. I just tried turning my fan off because it was making me slightly too cool. But with the fan off, I'm far too hot. So I'll have to be slightly too cool. Right. Do you ever fancy rambling about Chaos Warband organization structure? I have done rambles on that nature before. Paul pointing out that I've done that previously. Yes. So they will be, if you look back through my back rambles, there will be stuff in there about chaos. Possibly the what motivated the Primarchs ramble, possibly. I forget. What do you think of the Black Templars? I haven't seen many of them. Yeah, they're fine. They're perfectly serviceable Black Templars. I have an opinion on Helbrecht. I think it's a very nice model. Do I mean Helbrecht? I think I mean Helbrecht. It's a very nice model as a diorama, but really impractical to actually use thematically on a tabletop because he's skewering an orc. What if he's not playing against orcs? That's knackered it for a start for me. And he's sort of being polished by his attendants. Well, not when he's knee deep in Necrons. He's not. So, all right, I think that there's definitely stuff that can be done with them. Yeah, Paul's pointing out that they are. Yep. We're back in the what's my orc name debate again. Sporticus from Warhammer 2. I'm Sporticus. Nice. Thanks, Yestin. Big sneaker head smasher. Yes. All the plugging of Porfest. Where are we now? Have you ever done any narrative play with Zone Mortalis stuff? I'm sitting on a pile of new Necromunda terrain and planning on making it into Zone Mortalis, but I want to hear if it's even worthwhile. I haven't, to be honest. I've got a big bunch of Sector Mechanica stuff that's all assembled and trimmed and undercoated, ready for painting, but no Zone Mortalis stuff, unfortunately. Excuse me. Emerson Joseph, I think you being so green with AOS really helped with the review. Okay. I guess it helped. So I guess my AOS stuff to date is useful for people who are either new or not played it, or only played it a bit, because it'll be coming from a similar perspective, I guess. I guess the 40k people who are curious about AOS, that's probably about right, but not quite for seasoned AOS players, I wouldn't have thought. Anyway. Ever consider doing a weekend campaign using the rules 40k and 40 minutes users in the deployment zone campaign? No. 40k and 40 minutes have their. I think they used the Crusade system. It's not my cup of tea because Crusade is. It's a different way of. For me, it feels like matched play games that are just linked together because each game is built around the notion of both sides being equal. And that's not what I'm about. And I don't need a rule set to then say to me, all right, that guy got badly injured, so he's knackered in the next game or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's I can spew that from my brain. We've hit the pizza part of the conversation. Mr. Exos, Winter seems to have had a very hard time in recent battle reports when he plays his NIDs. Yeah, I can believe that. I haven't seen a lot of Winter's recent stuff, but I know from playing with him, he likes lots of line of sight blocking terrain. He likes the battlefields to be nice and balanced. That may be something to do with it. I don't know. I haven't seen them. I can't really comment. Narrative missions, again, Mr. Exhaust, with Gene Stealer Courts and Nids are fun because they get free reinforcements. Yep. As, in my opinion, they should. It's it's just the relentless tide of kiting and death. Kiting death. Shouldn't have mentioned pineapple on pizza. You could start a war. Yeah, it could go nuclear. Mascatari firing lines, orc squig buggies. I think these are examples of narrative reasons to take things. I recall the Admech versus Nids level in Vigilus was quite good, as I recall. Is that a game? As in a computer game. Nick, yes. A throwback to Third Ed Meat Grinder mission, where the enemy just recycled continuously. And the victory conditions were everyone's dead, Dave, or you lose to the Tyranids. If not everyone's dead, if you're the defender, if not everyone's dead, you win. If everyone's dead, you lose. Have you watched GW's narrative bat rep on Warhammer Plus? I haven't. I watched the first couple of battle reports and they were fine, but I have fairly limited time for watching battle reporty type stuff. And if I find myself with time to do it, I'm going to be watching Deployment Zone stuff in Winters. I might watch the odd one or two more just to see if there's anything specific. Like you mentioned, there's a narrative one. I might look that up and have a check of that, see what my impressions are. But mostly on Warhammer Plus, I've been watching Angels of Death because it's so good. I'm enjoying that immensely. Oh yes, I am. Oops, it's jumped. Paul Gray, I'll say hi, Paul. I did show you that Salamander command tank before, right? I think you did. That does ring a bell. Oh yes, you did. But yeah, I elected not to go for one of those. Partly because I haven't picked my guard up for quite a while. Problem with getting into AOS is I've now got so many more armies. I'm now in, I think. Oh, I don't want to add them up. I can't hit half a century in armies. I just can't. I probably have already. So if I could spend 1 week a year on each army and just about get around them all, that's depressing. I'm going to move on quickly before I loiter on that. How about converting certain Gene Stealer vehicles to Imperial Guard? Yeah, there's a bunch of they're all the right scale, as in they're all meant for unaltered human size models, so that could work. Plenty of count-size opportunities. From Blyton, I'd really like to know any tips you might have for playing that narrative style with a stranger or someone you aren't close to. Any tips to encourage narrative play without dictating everything? Yes. So, I find open war cards really help with that, because if you if you use the open war cards as they're meant to be, as they tell you to use them in the deck. They are very prescriptive about you pick this bit first, then you lay it all out, then you roll. You choose the next bit, then you do the next bit, then you put the twist on top of it. So you won't necessarily know before you could end up with very, very bizarre scenarios, and you can, after you've done that, then work out what the story is. But if you're trying to do more of a narrative leaning, what I find doable, in fact, I did this with Sultan when we filmed the Admech versus Iron Warriors series. We sort of sat down and said, right, well, the first game is going to be roughly about X. We sort of agreed that he was on the planet doing his archaeology thing, and I was making Planet 4 and going to mess him up. And that kind of thing you can discuss with someone you're less familiar with. Okay, so what are we doing here? Well, my Eldar are going to jump out from the webway and kill your humans because of X. It's like, right, okay. Then what you can do is you can say, okay, so based on what we think's happening, which of these scenarios do we think works? You say, oh, well, this one wouldn't work. We don't want war of attrition because it's sort of hit and run type thing. Okay, let's throw that out. We don't want supply drop because it's from the sky, so take that out. And then you can get down to a sort of few, and you can either, let's play that one, or, yeah, any of these work. Shall we shuffle? And then you say, right, well, we're doing this. What then makes sense for deployment zones? What are our options? Well, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. These work. Okay, well, sort of Eldar at this end, Marines over there. Yeah, that kind of works. And you can do the same with the twists as well. You say, okay, well, we're not fighting in a warp storm. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. So some of these others, these ones don't work. And we could draw one from this deck, or we can say no twist, or it's sort of, you can use it as a stage by stage discussion. You've both got to want to play narratively in the first place. It's no good with someone who's not interested. But if you're both interested in it, then that can kind of work. I've seen that work. Now that you've made me hungry, I fancy some curry. Sorry, Elliot. Jack was thinking of doing those and Atlan Jackals, with the Jackals being mechanized winged hussars. I think I've missed a step. I tell you what I do, what I would like to see in the Guard Codex, totally off topic, is I'd like to see Rough Riders, but I'd like to see bikes. I'd like to see Guard on bikes. There you go. I think my previous message was too big from Simon Ellis, but I like to sketch a rough system in space on a little graph pad, wider narrative scope with epic and conflicts. Yeah, I can't see a previous comment, so if you tried to put one in, it possibly was too big. But it's always good to have a setting. So what you're saying is effectively work out roughly where your thing's happening. I often get people message me on the likes of Instagram saying, I'm trying to work out how to do a narrative campaign with my friends, but we can't work out what the story might be. We've got Necrons and Orcs and Imperial. I'll say, okay, well, it's an Imperial planet, and there's a tomb world underneath it that's been dormant. A big Orc Space Hulk meteorite plows into the planet. Orcs are everywhere, and that disrupts the Necrons, and then you've got a three-way fight. You're like, oh wow, that's brilliant. It's like, yeah, it's good to have the context. And then even if every game is just what's happening now kind of game, even if it's not a tree result consequence, even if it's just you just look at what's in front of you and gone, oh yeah, well the Necron, there's loads of civilians over here, so the Necrons are going to attack that. All right, what are we fighting over? Well, maybe it's a supply type place. Okay, let's have lots of crates and things, and maybe some hab blocks that have been blown out, or yeah, that kind of stuff. So yeah, having that sort of view of what's going on, I really like. And the biggest fundamental difference of narrative games is that the story is the end goal of the game and not winning. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Telling the story is the result. And the story might be your guardsmen heroically saw off a large thing of orcs, or it might be they fought to the last man to keep the civilians safe for as long as possible till reinforcements arrived, or so the civilians could flee. And you get hero moments and tragic moments. How far is Star Wars Legion on your list? I'll be interested to see how you play that, as I have no idea how to. Well, it's above Necromunda, but below Age of Sigmar. That said, when I've got my couple of months off, I may just get a bee in my bonnet one day and say, right, I'm doing Legion, and then just plow on with that for a week and see what happens. The thing is, I get really enthusiastic about everything. So I have so many armies. I enjoy almost every aspect of the hobby, the game world, better phrasing, of the game world. And I can get really enthusiastic about it. Think, oh, I could do this and I could do that. And I disappear down a rabbit hole, which is why I have so many projects on the go. Massive, massive rabbits. When you go into narratives, is there generally an army you want to win, or are you just seeing where the story goes? Generally, I'm wanting to see where the story goes. Sometimes what happens is if one army's getting battered so badly, I'll want to root for it just because I want it to feel less utterly bashed, but I still don't really change what I do in order for that. Or there may be some scenarios where the story is an army gets defeated, but that doesn't mean all the battles that are fought are defeats. They help evolve the story of that defeat. That one of the most famous one of the series that often gets talked about that I filmed with Winters for deploymentzone.tv was called The Death of Hope. And the plot for that was this planet was being invaded by Tyranids and it was going to die. There was nothing either side could do during the course of that campaign that would affect that this world was going to be obliterated. It was just what happened along the way. So sometimes the story of a loss doesn't necessarily mean an army, a particular game is automatically a defeat, if that makes sense. But basically, see where the story goes. Sometimes I've got an arc in mind, and it's a case of telling the story along the way. Sometimes I have a rough framework in mind, and I play each game and then work out what the next one's going to be. The Night Lords campaign I did with the Fulminators was like that. I didn't have an end in mind. I just did, play a game, see what happens. Yes, in Hypor, do you think the squats are going to make a comeback in 40k? A few more squat conversations. I hope they do. They've been mentioned in a couple of books. I think GW would be daft not to, because it'd be like printing money, because so many people want them, they will just rush out and get them. It all depends what they're making money with at the moment. And a brand new army is a lot more investment than just printing a new book that makes different armies sell better. So, don't know. I don't know their investment versus reward model. So, but I hope so. I really hope so. Squats, Traitor Guard, Exodites, Dark Mechanicus. That's what I want to see. They're the gaps for me. They're the biggest gaps. From Chadus Maximus. Hi, Paul. Hope you're well. Looking for some narrative advice. Would the new Necromunda models be good proxies for Wordbearer cultists for the heresy? Yeah, potentially. I mean, cultists are basically civilians with a gun. So you could get a very eclectic mix of Necromunda models to do cultists. Very expensive way of doing cultists, but yeah, they would look cool. They would look very cool. If it looks like a human, it can be a cultist pretty much. And is there any cool model I could use to tie in from the 40k range of models? Ooh, now you're asking. Maybe some conversion on some of the Genestealer cults models. They're all sort of heretical and cultish. You might be able to swap out some of the Tyranidy bits for chaosy bits. I don't know. I've never tried to do that, but it's a possibility. So anything that springs to mind, there aren't many just basic human models other than Guard, and the Cadians are pretty old and might look a bit odd next to some of those Necromunda models. Should we change, say, Hypor to Lemmy to avoid confusion? I think it's spelled Lemmy. No, it's Lemmy. She's named Lemmy because when she was a kitten, she had a habit. She just still does it, just not as much. She loves climbing. She'd climb up to the top of a very high thing and then work out, then think, oh, shoot, I'm stuck. But unlike other cats who just meow for help, she will just do a controlled hurl off and hope she's all right. So she's named after the 80s and 90s computer game Lemmings. Not Lemmy from Motorhead. Do you ever do bat reps with civilians in them? I'm really hyped for the new Necromunda civilian set because they're totally becoming involved in 40k evac missions. I have done in the past, a long time ago, never filmed battle reports. Some friends and I did the end game of a week long. What some of us used to do was we'd all take a week off work and then go and stay at my mate's house who used to live near Warhammer World, because I didn't used to live near Warhammer World at the time. And we'd all crash over at his for a week and we'd play games each day at Warhammer World and do a campaign. And on the last day of this one particular campaign, it was a massive apocalypse game where I think there were about, let's see, there are about 30,000 points on the table, I think, possibly a bit more, from all sorts of different factions. The Imperials had been sort of pincered between Orcs and Eldar, and they had Tyranids coming from either direction. And they were trying to evacuate the civilians off the planet. And the Eldar were trying to find one person who would change the future of their craft world. They didn't know exactly who it was. So their goal was to try and murder the civilians. All of them. That was great fun. A friend of mine who was really big on his role play and protecting, sort of being a big protector of the innocent. Every time we just ignore his men and open up on the civilians. Oh, great days. Is it objectively too early for pumpkin spice latte? It is never objectively too early for pumpkin spice latte. If they sold that all year round, if I could get that at home and have that all the time, I would, because that sounds. When I went to New York for my brother's wedding in about 2006, I had a pumpkin spice latte in a Starbucks, and it was. I thought it was like one of the best things I'd ever had, and I still have a very soft spot for that ever since. Damn, I want a pumpkin spice latte now. And a pizza, but not a pumpkin spice pizza or a pineapple latte. No. I always try to make someone lean into narrative by first asking if they agree to no command point rerolls. Nice. I have to say, from having some friends around and seeing people command point reroll again, I'm very glad I don't do it. It really does just let the story tell itself. For me. William Wills, hi from Glastonbury Poor. Thank you for helping make 40k accessible again for me during a tough lockdown. Oh, thanks, man. I'm glad you've been able to access some hobby, and glad you enjoy it. Yeah, it's great when people say things like that. Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm pleased. Paul Gray, hi, Chadis Maximus. I know it's aimed to say hi, Paul, but recommendations I can make a Cawdor, Corpse Grinders, and Delac off the top of my head. Yeah. Elliot Thompson, I think Sultan turned some Genestealer bikers into Rough Riders. Did he? I would have to ask him. Have a good evening, Paul. Got to go take care of something. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Jack. You probably won't watch this back, but thanks anyway. Mr. Exhaust. If Rogue Trader prompts for why your factions would be fighting are funny, they would be great because they were mundane, like a bunch of guardsmen wander into a cave near your camp. Right, okay. With you. Rogue Trader was one I never got particularly into. What have we got? We've got a super chat from the Mighty Moog. Get some pumpkin spiced syrup. It changes your life. It comes in sugar-free too. Right. Thanks, man. Thanks. That's awesome. It's going on my to-do list for tomorrow. Sugar-free pumpkin spiced syrup. I'll remember to do that now. I mean, I won't remember to hold my meeting first thing in the morning because I've just torn my actions off that post-it. But I'll remember to look for the syrup. I've only got 8 days left. That's being too flippant. I am. I'm very diligent, but I haven't got 8 days left. What we got now? Orcs would have increasing Orcs attack stats by +1 instead of the toughness 5 have made more narrative sense. I wouldn't have increased their attacks by much more because then you get one Orc killing. The problem you get, I say problem, the effect that has is when you get a large group of Orcs charging almost anything, they will destroy it, irrespective of what it is, just because of weight of numbers and the way that the rolls to wound work in this edition. And I'm not always of the opinion that just charging someone with 30 Orcs should kill anything. There should be some things that just charging it with 30 Orcs shouldn't kill. Like Titans. Admittedly, 30 Orcs wouldn't kill a Titan, but they do it some serious damage. Feels wrong, that, to me. If they'd wanted to make them more survivable and they were getting close, wanted to do more narrative, I'd have given them a shrug. I'd have given them like a 5+ shrug rather than toughness 5. Because they do talk about them just being able to shrug off damage. But it's they have moved more and more away from random things in Ninth Ed. Extra dice rolls, extra this, extra that. They've changed a lot of it to, if you roll this, it's an extra hit. If you roll that, it's, so I'd have preferred them to do something like that. But that's not the direction of travel at present. But it's not so bad that it can't be narratively spun and explained. This didn't wound because, you blew his arm off, but he didn't care. So that would have felled anything else. So, yeah. Bimo, never caught one of these live. Thanks for all the great bat reps and rambles. Say hi, Paul. You're very welcome, man. I'm glad you enjoy them. Simon Ellis, example of my sector-wide narrative. I had an uprising in a Mechanicus forge amongst workers who seemingly felt overworked and badly treated. This was, in fact, started by a Genestealer infection. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes. I have Genestealers in there. I have Admech in here. I definitely will be doing something similar at some point. I think we're at the bottom of the list now. Paul Gray. Say hi, Paul. He did part of his Volcanus Air Assault Brigade, part of his outright. This is Sultan with his bikes. I don't recall ever seeing those. I shall have to go and have a look-see. Okay, so we are at the end of the chat. I think I'm rambled out on narrativing, so I think we will call it there. Thank you very, very much to everyone who's super chatted and everyone who has everyone who's joined during the chat. Unfortunately, I don't have my list of everyone in front of me from the wonderful Crimson, because she is elbow deep in puppies. Well, a puppy. No, that doesn't sound right. She's puppy wrangling at the moment. Oh my God, Teutonic Knight! Thank you. Looks like you've super chatted, but you haven't said anything. Do you want to type it instead? That's a big. It's an orange one. Thank you. Hope he's typing. Just give it a moment. Or maybe he's gone. He said good evening later on. Thanks, buddy. Much appreciated. You're all awesome. You're all awesome. And I will speak to you all. See you all in the next one. All right. Take care, folks. Bye for now.